everyone, and welcome back to Frostpunk. It's been a few weeks since I last played. We're still playing around with the endless mode just to relax and chill out. Pun intended, of course. And, as you guys have probably surmised, we are going to continue to be bumblefucking around in my little canyon abode, for lack of a better description. This city has managed to overcome the first true hurdles of endless mode, in that it's already survived 2 storms, and as a result it's actually pretty stable and has over 700 people as population in it. Needless to say, our goal for the time being is no longer the struggle of survival and advancement of the city, but quite simply the means of, well, discovering our history, finding all the relics and such that we can discover in the Frostlands in between storms. And yes, our people do need to eat and sleep from time to time, so don't forget to eat and sleep yourselves if you get tired or hungry. So, as you can see, when we last left off, we were just dealing with a bit of a storm. We are currently at 1:50 in the morning, and the storm will suddenly warm up from -80 to -40 in about 2 hours. Well, less than 2 hours, actually, but you get the kind of point that I'm attempting to make here. Sorry about that. Over here, we have our advanced ironworks and 2 of our coal mines. I believe they are both advanced. Yep, and the mines, as you can see, are actually sitting around with people in them instead of automatons. So I think our goal for this cycle between storms and such will be, instead of working on what's the proper term I'm looking for? Instead of working on just general scavenging and such, I think we'll be trying to get some more steam cores, simply so we can add more automatons to our workforce. Also, I'm tempted to get more raw food production, so that's always an option. While we're at it, I'm just looking around in the Book of Laws, and at this point I'm going to actually implement child shelters. This is very much an optional law, and I will have to build several child shelters, but when it comes down to it, it increases hope, and it provides a permanent bonus if I have enough child shelters for all the children in the city. So yeah, this is definitely not a stupid thing to do, and I'm going to take advantage of it. So, I have 136 children in the city, and each one of these holds 15. So, let's do a bit of basic math. So, 15, 10, 150, so drop that down by 135. So, we actually need 10 of these shelters. This is not necessarily a good thing, but it's not necessarily a bad thing either. In this case, as you can see, I just planted 10 of the, well, actually 12 of these, and I'm going to be definitely planting some heaters around there, because, well, it's just common sense and all that. Anyway, let's see what we can do about upgrading the roadworks as well in this area. see, our generator is still the heart of the city, and it is quite happily pulsating along with not a carry or worry in the world. I am quite happy for this because it makes my job a whole lot easier when the generator can actually keep the city running and stay warm. As you can see, though, I am concerned about fuel consumption, which is going to suddenly be much less of a concern because we can drop the steam level down to 2 citywide. As can be shown here, even at a steam level of 2 instead of a steam level of 4, the city is extremely comfortably toasty.
Come, lads, we must work harder.
And I am going to immediately create scout teams and see what we can scout. So we have an ice obelisk, some ice jaws, a supply depot, and a damaged snowcat. So let's go and hit snowcat first because it probably has stuff to loot. Second scout unit deployed, and we are immediately going to the supply depot. Because, well, yeah, this is just how I roll. I immediately go for the loot. At the moment, our workshops, which are apparently dealing with absentee workers because they're assholes like that, have some decent heat and all, but when it comes down to it, well, the working hours, let's just increase that a little bit to get some discontent going and all that, but at the same time it's kind of needed, because the more people, the longer hours are very much essential just to keep the city basically punching through at a proper pace. Over here, while the game is still paused, let me actually fix that. Sorry about that, let me repeat myself. Over here we can see our massive stockpile of children's creches being built up, because we have people just walking along through the snow to get over there. And so they're going to be nice and helpful and keep things warm and happy and all that horse shit. This is because, well, yeah, I try to be nice to my citizenry, even if I'm a pragmatic jackass that considers things like dumping bodies into an open pit instead of a proper grave to be, well, perfectly acceptable and normal. But to be fair, in this type of world, it is acceptable and normal. It's kind of depressing when you think about it. In fact, we have a significant amount of people heading over here to work in the selection of buildings and such. I think somewhere in the ballpark of 1/3 of the city, at least. And hi there, how you doing?
Very irate.
My sympathies.
Give me a minute.
1. And there, we have children's shelters, so the children are happy. I can turn the heater off in the steelworks, because it has an automaton working. Oh! And the automaton
Yeah.
project is complete. Now be produced at lower cost and used in medical facilities. This is quite nice. So, the cost of automatons actually falls by 5% on top of them having increased efficiency by 5%. Plus, use at medical facilities. So, hey, I'm not complaining one bit about that. Because, well, it's free research. I just got this done for absolutely nothing. I'm not going to complain one bit.
Would you like me to complain instead?
Well, if you wish to vent about your day, I'm not going to object, because venting is exactly what this day is about, right?
So, what happened was I turned my house upside down looking for a thing that was not in my house.
Ah, my sincere sympathies. Family-related
It
shenanigans.
was in my brother's car.
Ah, family-related shenanigans. Again, my sincere sympathies.
And I swear to God, I've been going 9 non-stop since 11 o'clock.
Okay, so I just finished my automaton redesign, so automatons are now actually dirt cheap, which is quite useful for me, and quite useful for pretty much everyone around me. But I am going to next grab coal mining rationalization, because we are having issues maintaining our coal supply at the moment. I do
Will we
want to
have
get...
a robot bar fight?
Well, not quite a robot bar fight, but robots do occasionally step on people and make them go squish.
Is either the robot or the human drunk?
No, I'm not entirely certain if it's due to the robot being drunk, but yes, the human would most likely be drunk to walk in front of a robot the size of a 4-story building.
Close enough.
Rest time. Work is done for the day.
So my medical post here is at 154% efficiency. There is an achievement for actually getting above 200% efficiency in any workplace. Sadly, I cannot do something like, say, drop a foreman on top of it, because it doesn't have the foreman toggle, which kinda sucks. As for my coal mines, well, as lovely as they are, especially with the whole infinite coal supply, and soon to be upgraded research and all that for even more coal, well, I just kind of like having a reasonable amount, I guess you would say. Oh, it's just very much a case of building into the territory that I have, and honestly, I'm surprised that I've managed to cram over 720 people into just the central crater, because I still have the upper crater here, and the lower crater where one of my wall drills is, in order to cram that place full. Not to mention, I have 217 workers and 130 engineers available, so I'm pretty packed up.
Speaking of, Serena asks, what do robots get drunk on? Oil?
Well, let's put it this way, you know how some diesel engines are extremely tolerant of fuels, like creating biodiesel out of used grease and all that sort of stuff?
Listen, everyone. New law is signed.
So I'm actually punching out 2 new sawmills out here, not because I really need to, I have only half storage and my wood supply and all, but it's just a matter of pragmatism. I kind of want to clear out those trees, and there's no real other reason not to. So, we got to the supply depot, it's falling apart, but we got some food and wood, and that's not a bad thing. And, oh look, we got to go to a ruined hut. Let's see, 52 raw food, not bad, 88 raw trees, also not bad. Let's keep on going. So, onwards to the ruined hut. Let's just check on the economy system here. So at the moment, with my generator not pumping out stupid fuck stonks of heat because it was minus 80 outside, we're gaining 3,700 coal a day and only consuming 2,500. The majority of this is courtesy of my steam hubs. But at the same time, well, with 15,000 coal capacity, I'm not gonna hurt for that for a long time. Our steam wall drills are sitting at 75% efficiency, courtesy of our automatons, but we can get that up to 95% efficiency and go really ham. Same for our steelworks. At 75% efficiency, we're getting 234 steel a day. This is not a small number, but again, we can go full ham. Okay, so this is what I wanted to check on. For our food ration gain, we are gaining 720 food a day. This isn't bad at all. In fact, it's something that I would greatly appreciate if I had that ability in real life. Our food consumption is 707 a day, so there's just that little sliver of green that I kind of want to see swell a bit more. So, this 15-day span, I am probably going to start working on hothouse research and advanced hothouses, assuming I can get enough steam cores. For health, as you can see, everything is at 154% efficiency, and that's just really beautiful. As for housing conditions, we have 717 people in the city right now, because we have 10 people outside gallivanting all over hell and gone. And we have a total of 33 vacant beds, so essentially 13 vacant beds in actual housing and 20 in the care house. So, with that in mind, I think we're pretty much, well, set for the time being. Especially because every last one of these buildings is at a comfortable temperature. So, let's just bump the game speed up a little bit, and kick back and relax. Watch the little peons gallivant through these frozen trees, and see what they can do to build stuff up. You know, because they are my loyal servants and peasants. And I treat them with actual food instead of soup or sawdust-laced foodishness.
That sounds nice.
Well, I mean, if I really wanted to stretch the rations, I could order both of my cookhouses to make soup instead, which gets 5 rations instead of 4 out of every 2 raw meat. I admit I would like it if the game allowed a more comprehensive build-up of buildings when you, as your peasants, peons, whatever, work on it. But at the same time, I understand why it just goes from step 1 to step 2 because, well, budgeting concerns. When it comes down to it, I think that's the biggest crunch in this game, is quite simply just trying to wrangle the budget. Meanwhile, over here, the King's Icelander is returning to its workplace at its advanced steelworks. And as you can see, it is somewhere in the ballpark of 5 or 6 stories tall. These automatons are not small units, that's to be certain. Okay, this is definitely interesting. So, temporary weather setback. These are something that started happening in the second set after the first blizzard, when we had brittle steel. And here, gathering posts and coal thumpers will work at only 10% efficiency. This basically completely fucks over anyone who is relying solely on coal thumpers. So, it's a good thing I went for coal mines instead. gathering post over here, well, yeah, it's kinda fucking bollocks, but it's only the one and I don't care about it. Okay.
We've got work to do.
So we have a damaged snowcat over here that is, well, pretty much wrecked. Looks like its steam turbine exploded according to the log there. So we may as well steal its steel. And so we head further on to the stone obelisk along the way. And I should probably research getting a third scout team out as soon as I possibly can, you know? So yeah, good times. The Frostlands at least give us some reasonable amount of time before our next storm. So yep, our gathering posts. One employee delivers 10% efficiency, minus 9%. Base efficiency, we are fucked over here. But that's okay, because it doesn't matter, it's just filling up space and getting peasants out of my hair. And with coal mining rationalization, now our coal mines are even more efficient, so we are going to be basically sitting on a massive stonk of, well, boosted resource gain. This is not a bad thing at all. I have been meaning to start research into the infirmary because, well, it's essentially a double-sized medical post and the sick are treated faster. So that's quite nice, but honestly at the moment I can't really do anything with it. So instead let's just go for additional scouts. We have 13 days before the next storm, and it is currently day 32, and day 33 we have the start of a cold snap, so this is going to be interesting with all the swearing that involves under your breath. The frozen ground hazard will resolve in just under 6 days, so that'll be interesting as well. And we have 14 more relics to collect. There is also an achievement for building all 3 possible types of gardens. In this case, a large garden requires a single steam core, and I'm honestly keeping that 1 steam core we have left for, well, basically, I wouldn't call it budgetary concerns, but there's always a use for steam cores, and we just can't really afford to sit on our thumbs with them. Well, we always want to keep 1 in reserve just in case, for example, something happens to our generator, because the steam core is very much a case of how to massively unfuck this thing when everything goes absolutely wrong. And in another few minutes, our scouts that explored the first site are going to get to the second site, which I believe is a building that we can loot. So let's go and poke and prod that shortly.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
I am even more frustrated than when I started.
My sympathies. My suggestion would be to have a nice mug of a cold drink.
I'm out of milk.
This is interesting. While the ruined hut had nothing of value, we have found an upright sled and a ruined dreadnought. Huge Victoria-class dreadnought uncovered from the snow? Let's head over there because it has a relic. another sighting of Victoria-class wreckage buried deep in the ice. Should you see fit, we can send scouts to search for more old-world relics among the debris. There's a total of 15. We have one. We may as well take advantage of the warm weather, at least for the time being, and see what we can do about making our people, well, appreciate their new lives in an authoritarian hellscape in the middle of the Arctic. You know, like what would happen if Canada went full stupid. And with a third scout team out and about, we can now properly gallivant. This is definitely going to cut down on the risk of losing destinations and materials because, well, obviously, we're going to have more teams in order to collect more shit. Next on the list, I'm going to grab Automaton Integration 2. This further improves the workplace for obvious reason, because, well, we want the automaton's efficiency to keep going up, and the maximum is 95% with Integration 3. Also, eventually with engineering automatons, I can just drop automatons on top of the workplaces and just keep plugging away forever, so yeah. My only constraint in this mode, as you guys probably noticed, is quite simply at the moment my lack of overall steam cores. And right now, we might as well add a couple more resource depots, so let's add some more coal supply to our mix. Now, as you can see, my automaton here, the King's Icelander, is going to refuel, which means he's going to walk over to this operating steam core right here, and just be all nice and toasty. So we're just going to sit back and watch a little bit, because it's just kind of cool. Now, due to game mechanics, while a automaton is refueling, its workplace is actually still operating, and as such, you never stop working with an automaton on a worksite. Which is why Cool Guy was so enthusiastic about when I first got automatons in this map, because, well, it's just such a nice thing to have. Oh, our scouts just reached an obelisk, so let's go and see what they have to do. Oh, just a distinct spot, so let's explore. Oh, another buried dreadnought. Well, let's go send those scouts straight there, because goddamn. Also, if anyone dies, I can point and laugh anyway, so. I admit I am seriously considering dismantling these old single spot resource depots in favor of more large depots, mostly because of the fact that the large depots are just so incredibly efficient. So after a full day at work, with the minus 90% malice at the gathering post, we have managed to gather 11 coal and 3 wood. another Victorian-class Hulk, so more old-world relics for us to dig up. I'm not going to complain one bit about this, and I'm sorry for temporarily giving the camera a big old blast of smoke and steam from the factory there. Just a bit of entertaining shenanigans, I guess you'd say. And first dreadnought discovered. Well, let's take a look. Okay, so this dreadnought is almost undamaged. It was abandoned with very little fuel in the tanks, so there's no toxic hazard as a result. Dismantle parts of the hull in a few places to access all decks, and this is easily done, so by exploring it safely, we'll spend 100 wood and 50 steel in order to basically crack it open, or we can risk our lives and have the chance of our scouts dying. You know. Or we can just fuck off and leave it. So we'll explore it safely instead. Our scouts took the time and effort to explore the wreck safely, because, well, we're not idiots, and now we got to bring the first relic back to safety. So, as a result of that, that one is huzzah, complete, yada yada yada, and they're heading straight back to our city before we kick them back out again for more exploration. As you can see, when our scouts are transporting a relic, we cannot give them other orders. They automatically go straight back to the city. And so with a little bit of time acceleration, well, we just get to kick back and relax a little bit, because, oh, there's a cold snap rolling in, and everyone is all toasty warm at home, so I don't have to worry one iota! So, let's just turn that off again for the temperature overlay, and wait for people to actually get their thumbs out. This is strange. Why would the propaganda center be shut down? Oh, there we are. So, I'm looking at our hope, and it's sitting at about 75%. So let's just hit that big fat button saying hope will rise.
Wrap up well. The frost is here.
Oh wait, my automaton doesn't need to be at this wall drill here. And the other dreadnought has been reached, so let's pop her open. Huh, also almost undamaged, so a deserted treasury once more. The very first dreadnought we encountered was actually a horrible wreck, and we were worried about it. So, well, in this case I think we got lucky. Again, so that's 2 teams of scouts driving relics back to our city, 1 team of scouts heading outbound to an ice obelisk, and then we just have to continue exploring once all this is all said and done. That is not bad. Again, I do apologize if anyone is trying to poke me via the stream's chat system, but because I play full screen and I do not have 2 monitors, I actually do not have the ability to check what is being said. Hopefully good things are being said, because I like you guys. I could get the generator range upgrades, 1, 2, and 3. They are wholly optional because the generator is obviously being compensated for by multiple steam hubs, which are actually more efficient than the generators. But I think I'll instead get improved heaters, partly because there are some parts of the city that still have heating issues, specifically the factory itself. So with it sitting here being chilly, even with insulation and a heater, I'm just going to actually take the time and well, just sort of drop out a steam hub sitting right next to it, just so people can stop complaining about the weather there. Now, over here, I have this steam hub set to low settings because this is a mass grave here. We don't want that to warm up at all. To quote a certain Let's Play that I used to read many years ago, "Welcome to fucking boat murdered. Hope you like miasma." Which is, well, yeah, for those with a rotten sense of humor, or who have played Dwarf Fortress, it is a very darkly humorous little anecdote, I suppose you'd say. Anyway,
I still haven't gotten through the Let's Play.
It's not a bad Let's Play, but it definitely shows its age. Dwarf Fortress has vastly improved since then, to start off with, and it's only gotten weirder since then.
So, just business as usual for Dwarf Fortress.
Well, I mean, it did create the legend of the Dwarf King Sancus, who killed 5 other dwarves while on fire.
Huh.
Yeah, he was kind of mad.
Mad as in grumpy or mad as in a bit insane?
Both.
Okay.
So I am going to take the time and actually dismantle these old resource depots. They're just not needed anymore. And I can also implement a new law. So if I want to, in adaptation, I have the option of triage, dueling, and the House of Pleasure, all of which I don't really care for. But for completionist's sake, I will be signing the triage law, but I solemnly swear to never use it, because 1/4 of my patients die instantly. This is...
That's bad.
In Endless Mode, it is not that bad, because every time a storm ends, you can go out and basically retrieve more survivors, so long as you're not above the cap of 700 people. However, in actual campaign missions, like A New Home, or the Seed Vaults, or whatever, you do not want this, for the obvious reason.
You only have so many people to start with and to work with in those scenarios.
That's correct, and honestly, it's very much a case of what is good for some is bad for others. I guess as Spock would say, the good of the many supersedes the good of the few. But when it comes down to it, it's just, well, okay, hang on a second. There we are. I needed to find the dismantle button instead of the build button for that street. But when it comes down to is, at the end of the day, it's just survival at its worst and best at the same time, I suppose. I'm just going to start tinkering a bit with the street over here, just to kick it out a few
Makes sense.
notches.
You did quote Spock for some reason.
Well, to be fair, I recently watched The Wrath of Khan, and honestly, everyone just loves that movie, and unless they have all the brains of a potato. So,
Serena says, "I think that the saying goes, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few."
or the one.
Con.
Okay, so we have a letter of thanks from an engineer because of the automatons. Workers asked me to deliver this. Plain people, so it reads like bad poetry, but the gist of it is they want to thank you, sir. The automaton working tirelessly in the inhuman cold, where previously they suffered, is something worth living for. Hope rises. So the automatons are a mixed blessing, I guess you would say. On the one hand, well, they're giant robots that steal your jobs. On the other hand, they're actually keeping people safe and warm because they can stay at home and not slowly freeze to death in the absolute hellish weather. Because, hey, it's only minus 50.
It's only minus 50. You're only gonna get frostbite if you go outside.
You ever hear of the 30-30-30 rule?
No, no, no.
The 30-30-30 rule is that in a 30 kilometer an hour wind at negative 30 degrees Celsius, it takes 30 seconds for exposed skin to freeze.
Yeesh. That seems more applicable for harsher climates.
Yep. Negative 50 Celsius without wind chill is equivalent to the negative 30, the first two negative 30s in there. So 30 below and 30 kilometer an hour wind.
So people have to be covered completely. What about the eyes? How do they even see? Do they have to wear goggles?
Blinking. Goggles, most definitely. But in general, I mean, as an example, if you look at the icon for our scouts team, or even in the corners over here, you see that they were wearing goggles. They are very well prepared, you know? In the city where the wind is up, something happened. A serious accident. Look at that. Automaton stepped on someone. I kind of called this. I kind of predicted this, didn't I? So he crushed his leg and he's crippled for life. Automatons should walk more slowly and carefully. Fuck that. Efficiency of automatons fall by 10%? No. No, no, no. Especially because I can go right over here to my factory and say, you bitches, build some prosthetics.
Oh boy, we're going full metal. Actually, not metal. We can't really use metal because
it does take 10 steel to make a prosthetic.
Yeah.
It does take 10 steel to use it.
What steel?
It takes 10 steel to make one prosthetic.
Awesome. But at the same time, you can't use steel for prosthetics in this kind of weather because it'll drain the heat from your body.
Well, that depends on how thick the padding is, doesn't it?
Yeah, or you can just make it out of the special metal as well.
Work day is up.
Okay, so we got a relic about bunkhouses.
Serena mentions, by the way, there's also snow masks that have a screen built in for your eyes in real life.
Yep, they're especially important because winter blindness is a real thing. So,
I knew a girl in high school who accidentally got sunburn on her eyes because of the that.
It's definitely uncommon, but it's extremely notable when it does happen, isn't it?
It sucks, from what I can tell.
So, at the moment, our wood stockpile is actually full up. This is kind of surprising, but at the same time, this is why we're also building 3 more of these large-ass depots, because 1 for wood, 1 for steel, and 1 for more food. In fact, I will soon build a 4th depot, probably on the opposite side of the city, and start considering actually building things like, you know, what are they called? Hot houses. So, at the moment, I'm just looking at the Exploration and Industry tab, and I'm thinking that, well, it's pretty good, so we are actually going to... Sorry about this, my brain just decided to draw a blank for some stupid reason. No, we are going to research hothouses, and then industrial hothouses, and hothouse insulation, selection and all that for increased efficiency, but we are not going to be building any. Yet. Because they require steam cores. And we still only have 1. We kinda want more for the obvious reason they're in. At the moment, our coal consumption is sitting at about 3,000 a day, and nowhere built, making 3,900, so hungry, hungry heaters. The funny thing is that you can argue that these advanced coal mines and such are doing a very good job of making certain that the city is much warmer than the surroundings because of all the coal steam smoke being pumped out. Gee, the one-time global warming is not a bad thing, right?
What? How nice.
I'm honestly surprised that 7 people are hungry.
I just had some shitty dinner, so... Yeah, I'm not in the mood for food right now.
Yeah, so I saw a bit of discontent, and hope was down a little bit, so let's just send out the guards and make certain that everyone's happy and content and safe and all that. And we're not breaking any kneecaps, despite what the rumors might say. Now, there is a research upgrade for the sawmills that increases their radius of effectiveness. Obviously, it's very much optional, especially in this game, because of the fact that I'm absolutely swimming in resources, courtesy of these wall drills, which I can still upgrade to one further level. But when it comes down to it, I just kind of enjoy the little sawmills making all these old wood disappear.
I'm gonna bounce for a bit.
Yeah, you take care of yourself, KP man, and I hope you have a good evening.
I'm just gonna wait until tomorrow starts. I'll probably come back, though.
Yeah, I'll see you later. You take care.
Later.
And as you can see, building some more stockpiles and all that, because of the fact that I am a colossal greedy guts and always need more stockpiles. Well, at least temporarily. I'll just crank the time acceleration on this for a little bit. Wonder why the hell a bunch of people are not eating. And scouts reached the empty shelter, so there's absolutely nothing there but lonely light and snow-covered supplies. Nothing to do there, so let's carry on. So the lonely light might be survivors. Snow-covered supplies are closer, however, and let's go jump over there, because crates. Crates are always useful. Crates are delicious. They're always full of food. Or we can just break them down and turn them into supplies. And we got another piece of ancient research, so let's just kick these scouts back out where they belong. Back to the buried dreadnought, so they can then jump over to the mountain glacier and continue exploring. I have to admit, one thing I sincerely love about this game is the fact that the music is so incredibly atmospheric. It gives you the sense of tension that you deserve for being in an Arctic hellscape. So, while we are waiting, let's just bop over to our archive here. And so, rejected automaton designs was the first thing we found. Let's check out on bunkhouses. Yeah. Snow huts were deemed beneath the dignity of the English, and were also impractical as they tended to melt in livable temperature. Chair's pushing his London house, designed to remind people of the streets of our capital, but that would not have the means to build the kind of housing Edmund considered adequate. Practical, if ugly, sheet metal hut. So the bunkhouse is basically sheet metal and not exactly pretty. So that's worth a A small hearty chuckle, I suppose. So, from the journal of the Royal Society member's diary, and yep, reviewing the designs of modern and efficient Arctic housing. So, as she said, she added more insulation, dropped out the triple bunks at the advice of Admiral McClintock as people built snow huts to escape confines of their ship during their wintering, and then she forged her boss's signature and the bunkhouse was born. So, yeah. And the lamp. This is what our citizens wear on their chests. It is, for lack of a better term, it's essentially a personal heat generator and lantern that is refueled at home. Or directly to the generator itself. So, in this case, the lamp, for lack of a better term, is, well, it's a combination lantern, heat source, and distress horn. So, basically, it became essential equipment for everyone. So, malfunction in its typical operating conditions, yeah, it's a death sentence, because this is the reason why our citizens inside our city can walk around without having to bundle up in 15 to 20 layers. This is such an incredible design. And the design work itself makes sense. It has the radiator fins there to dump excess heat, which it really shouldn't need to. It has the lighting coils, all that sort of stuff. The people, 11-bit Studios, the developers, they went to an incredible amount of trouble to make essentially a patent fragment in this description here for this archive. They didn't even need to do this. This was completely optional. And they did it in such a way that makes it realistic to the time. And I'm legitimately impressed by the amount of small details in it, even to the point where you can see the not only how the bolts are mounted, but how they're adjusted, because it has separate bolt holes and such on each side, so you can adjust it to a larger or smaller person. Again, I am legitimately impressed by this. This is not something that's easily done. Especially considering that it's free DLC in this game. This is not something that you paid for. So it's just one of those things that just... yeah. And hi there, how you doing? Having fun, I hear.
Yes. Well, I just finished my dinner. I see you've been reading up on lamps and bunkhouses.
Yeah, a little bit. The lamp is actually a really interesting piece of design for the Frostpunk universe. I'm honestly impressed by how much work 11-bit Studios put into this, because they really didn't have to do any of it. This was entirely free DLC and entirely optional, you know?
Hmm.
Order, people. Let's
So, how is the Canyon City going right now?
Yeah, it's pretty good, actually. Got a decent supply of coal, got a large supply of wood and steel. I could always use more steel, to be honest. Getting some raw food, getting some more rations. And I've actually started building up prosthetics, because I had someone with a get stepped on by an automaton. So, at the moment, the prostheses still cost 10 steel a pop, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. I can turn the heater off in there. Let's see what I can do out here.
Is the brittle steel debuff still ongoing?
No, the brittle steel debuff finished before the second storm. We currently have the frozen ground hazard, so all gathering posts and coal thumpers work at 10% efficiency. As we don't have any coal thumpers, and we have only one gathering post, I'm not going to complain too much about it.
Yeah, alright.
Okay, I just researched the hothouse, so let's bop over in here and immediately upgrade to an industrial hothouse.
So, all the way up far on beyond that big ol' expanse of snow, that's the child shelters?
Yep, There's a dozen of them, though we only need 10 of them.
So you basically put the daycare way off in the distance.
Right next to 2 coal mines and a steelworks.
Yep. Alright, cool.
Well, I mean, at least it's a reminder. If I was not a benevolent ruler, you would be working in there, boy!
I see. Yes.
Why, yes, I am a cheeky bastard.
Yeah. I don't really know a lot about Frostpunk, so there's not much I can comment on, unfortunately.
And that's okay. I mean, a large part of it is simply the fact that it's quite deliberately a mystery on how the world decided to freeze over. What caused it? Was it volcanic eruptions? Was it meteor strikes? Was it the sun getting dimmer? Nobody knows, and all of those theories are bandied about in-game. The big thing is that... Oh, we got a mini-event here. Okay, an angry Rand. Captain is trying to keep you content, ignorant, and under control. Remember the new poor law, the workhouses, that's where we live now. We're supposed to work and be quiet, but it's not too late. What an asshole. So, apparently, because of the fact that I have not actually created, say, a prison, I'm scheming to enslave everyone. I must be a horrible person. I'm being nice. It's the German ancestry, I swear. So, I could actually further into his delusions and chase him away, or I can let him speak. And if I let him speak, the discontent in the city will rise, but honestly, the discontent is non-existent. And if he's lying, it'll make hope fall slightly, and we still haven't had hope maxed out yet, so let's just let him speak. He can be angry, he can be stupid, I don't give a shit. Because so long as he doesn't do anything like sabotage the fucking generator, I won't have to murder his ass.
Okay.
And as a result, the discontent arose by a grand total of nothing. And our scouts finally arrived at the snow-covered supplies I found, and raw food. Let's explore.
Hey.
Many crates full of supplies out in the middle of nowhere, no telling what might have left them there. 63 raw food. I am not going to complain. And let's head for this lonely light, because that's pretty much the next on the discovery list, and that will take the scouts about 14 hours. According to this, 13 hours and 48 minutes, so close enough. At that point, you're starting to split hairs, you know? So, my other scouts are heading to an upright sled. This set of scouts is heading back to that buried dreadnought so I can kick them over to the mountain glacier over there. And then there's the fourth path over on the ice jaws, which is basically a waypoint with nothing doing otherwise. So, as you can see, with 3 scout teams, I can really get some good exploration done. I can probably clear out the entire map in this before the storm recycles everything. Because that's a mechanic. In endless mode, whenever a storm passes through, it resets all of the waypoints and such on the Frostland map here. So, with that in mind, it allows you to basically send your scouts back out and re-explore.
Oh, that's thoughtful.
It is, and I appreciate it. So, we do have the option of the hothouse, but again, it requires a steam core, and I only have the 1 steam core in reserve. So, because I am concerned about long-term food supply, I am going to pitch out a few more hunters' huts. Just out near my steelworks over here, because, well, I can, and because it's still within the radius of a heater, so people can't complain too much about the chill. There we are, and okay, yeah, that's a neat stockpile. That should keep 70 people off my ass out of the 322 unemployed assholes I have to deal with.
Wow.
I mean, seriously, There's 322 unemployed people, so some of them are spending their time saying, "He's planning to enslave us all! Look at all of us having cushy no jobs because giant robots are taking our jobs!" Why, yeah, I do have a twisted sense of humor at times. I admit once more, I really do appreciate the design of the houses and buildings and such in this game, because they just look classically Victorian and modern at the same time, which fits for the time frame of the game, because it's the 1880s essentially. And one thing that I do greatly appreciate, I really wish I could see, is the construction actually go through the process they're in, but in this case it just goes from skeletal structure and scaffold to complete because of budgetary constraints. 11-bit Studios is not a big studio.
Work is done for the day.
I think I recall this being mentioned once.
Yeah, they are an exceptionally good studio. I legit love what they do, but they're a very small studio. So next on the list is hothouse selection, because 15% more efficient, and the industrial hothouse already farts out 60 food a day. So with 15% more, well, all of a sudden you're looking at the meme of nice.
Indeed.
Yeah, I figured that would get a chuckle. But yeah, with all of these soon-to-be-built hunters' huts and such, I will be swimming in a significant amount of raw food, which I will greatly appreciate, simply because of the fact that, well, it's just pre-planning, getting rid of concerns before they become concerns, so to speak. I admit, one of the reasons why I call this a chill stream, other than the blatant pun of it being in-game minus 50 Celsius, is simply due to the fact that I enjoy watching my little slaving peons below me working away at basic time frame instead of accelerating the time to get shit done faster. I'm still wondering why the hell there's 18 people who are not eating. Honestly, they probably just have to walk a bit to get to the cookhouses and such, but, well, that sucks to be them, you know? There's only 2 cookhouses in the entire city, so it's 350... Actually, 360 people per cookhouse being served every day. And each cookhouse only has 5 employees, so that's pretty sizable bump.
I'm just watching the snow melt.
It's pretty impressive just how detailed it is. The snow is very much a character in its own right in this game. Sorry about that, my fingers slipped. But as I said, the snow is very much a character in its own game, so you can see the people forge paths through it, and because it's constantly snowing, the paths will refill very shortly afterwards.
Also, the streets. They're all heated, aren't they?
Yeah, if you look closely at the streets, you'll see they have massive steam pipes running along the center line of them. And those steam pipes actually feed into the various buildings to heat them.
Efficient?
Well, it's basically, surprisingly, about 150 miles of New York City streets have steam pipes under them.
Oh, hey. Didn't know that. Wait a minute. Okay, I haven't paid very much attention to Frostpunk in the past. Mostly because I'm usually tapping out and doing things like, I don't know, playing Sekiro.
Blade or Sekiro.
Yeah, that too. But, yo, hunters have blimps?
Yes. The Advanced Hunter's Hangar have steam-powered blimps that are used so you can basically hunt from the air.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I figured you'd be impressed by that. And as a result, each hunter's each hunter's hut carries 10 people and brings back 45 raw food. So I'm not going to complain.
Yeah.
So this scout found a sled, which tumbled into a fissure apparently. Yada yada yada. See other sleds, scattered cargo, and frozen bodies. But steam cores. I am a happy camper.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, so this sled was the last one in a column. All the others fell into a fissure, climbed to the bottom, recovered supplies, discovered that not all the drivers died from the fall. Some bodies laying side by side in sleeping bags. This is very much how the theme of Frostpunk is. It's very struggle to survive, you know? But when it comes down to it, you can take pride in making your city survive and not crossing the eventual line that can be created. Personally, I crossed the line back when Cool Guy convinced me to just throw the corpses into a pit instead of build a cemetery.
Well.
But to be fair, the 20% efficiency for organ donations kind of sold me on it a bit.
Ah, yes.
Which is basically, yeah, if you get too sick, I'm gonna Frankenstein you, boy. And you're gonna like it. Ah, scouts have reached the Lonely Light. Now, no survivors, just bodies. Some locked in a deadly struggle, eh? Lights powered by a wind generator, people were well prepared. This is bizarre. Yeah. So we found the Lying Rock and another buried dreadnought. This is the third buried dreadnought this storm. So, the Lying Rock is another landmark, and the buried dreadnought is the third one in this map, and it has a relic. So let's go and bop over to there immediately.
Well, alright then.
So that'll take 6.5 hours for my scouts to get there, and this hunter's hut.
They died so close to a city.
Well, to be fair, the city is relatively new. And these other guys, I got them to the buried dreadnought that I've already explored. And honestly, if you look at this little caption picture here of the dreadnought just semi-buried in ice, it just looks fucking amazing. I really wish we could get a better view of that Minique picture, because it's just awe-inspiring in the sense of holy crap. You know?
Eh?
But from there, I'm going to send my guys over to the mountain glacier, which has something dark at its base, and is probably the endpoint of this little path. Because it seems that each path is about 4 to 5 nodes long. For example, I went from my city to the ice obelisk, to the empty shelter, to snow-covered supplies, to the Lonely Light, and then buried dreadnought in the Lying Rock. While these scouts here, up at the northern side next to the upright sled, went from supply depot to ruined hut to a buried dreadnought, back to the city, to the upright sled, and now they're heading out to the Ice Needles, which will explore and show off another couple of places, so 5 or 6. Yep, another piece of the past. Thank you for the beacon. The cookhouse is pretty much one of the most unsung heroes of the city, if you want to discuss the building mechanics and such. Because, well, I mean, obviously, without it, we would just have literally frozen food and no rations for people. The fact that we can also make soup is kind of an option.
Ah.
Also, I put out street lamps every here and there just to make people feel at home.
Oh, I see, yes.
Yeah, what can I say?
That is its function.
Wrap up well. The frost is here.
Okay, Okay, it's now -60 outside, so let's see what the city's temperature overlay looks like. A few of the buildings are starting to have issues with their temperature control again. Thankfully, not many. Turn that back on.
We must work harder.
Might as well turn the pub on, too. And we can create a new law if we want to. Might as well heat up the workplace there as well. And over here, yeah, might as well prevent the little munchkins from getting sick, right?
Sure. Sounds good.
Well, I mean, there's only so much people can tolerate before they freeze their dicks off, right?
I can imagine.
I take it you've not lived anywhere near Canada, right?
No, this is about as close as I ever got.
Heh. And you're probably still, what, below the 60th parallel?
Pretty sure.
So, in adaptation, we have 2 laws left that we have an option of taking, if we want to take them. There's the dueling law, which is basically, yeah, you can beat the hell out of each other with wrenches and hammers, and people will probably die. And there's the House of Pleasure, which is... yeah. I mean, honestly, what it comes down to is that it is sincerely worrying that this is a law, because it's basically saying 5 random people are now going to have sex with as many people as want to have sex with them without any consent on their part, and that's just reprehensible to me. So, instead, let's go and pop over to the purpose set of laws, and we have a grand total of 4 laws remaining over here. We have the Pledge of Loyalty, which is very much a case of, let's have our neighbors turn into informants under threat of torture. And we have the option of prison, which is, well, yeah.
Yeah.
And on just below prison, you have forceful persuasion, which is, yeah, it is definitely not something you really want to wrangle. So instead, I'm going to close the Book of Laws and ignore it.
Aha.
I think that is a good option for everyone involved. There we are. My scouts have reached the buried dreadnought, and there's a relic in there, so let's take a look. Ah, this is the 3rd one that is also almost undamaged. So all 3 of the dreadnoughts I've discovered in this iteration of the map have been just abandoned due to a lack of fuel. So there's no toxic hazard, but we have to dismantle chunks of the hull, that sort of thing. So we have to spend some wood and steel just to basically create doorways where doorways should not be.
Well, alright.
But we have a new relic, and our scouts are immediately heading straight back to our city to drop it off. They're good eggs like that. Okay, we finished our hothouse selection, which will keep the hothouses actually nice and comfortable. Well, keep the crops nice and comfortable when we get around to building some of those. And I think next on our list will be insulations, really. We can get advanced heaters, which causes the heaters to burn 3 coal per hour, but also pump the heat levels up by 3 levels, which is definitely not bad, but it's only useful for workplaces, and honestly, most of the workplaces don't give a shit at this point. For exploration and industry, I can immediately grab Automaton Integration 3, which makes my automatons gain 10% more work efficiency. Which means they're working 24/7 at 95% efficiency of a full 10-person work crew.
Wow.
Yeah, needless to say, that is a pretty good option to grab. There's also the Medical Automaton Research, which is free by completing a side quest. And over here is Engineer Automatons, so I can actually make them research stuff instead of actually having people do the research.
What?
Yeah, you see, Research Tier 4 here, the Difference Engine, is based off of Charles Babbage's Difference Engine prototype. It was essentially a steam-powered mechanical calculator, very much a predecessor to the first computer and that sort of thing, but it never worked the way he wanted it to work, so it could never predict. The big divergence in the Frostpunk universe is that Babbage's Difference Engine actually did work. And as a result of that, you have the advent of stuff like automatons, which are essentially very simple steam-powered computers controlling mechanized limbs and such.
Well, okay then.
Another option, and one that I'm partial towards, is pre-planning by researching the advanced wall drill for when I'm out of wood actually inside the crater. But really, when it comes down to it, we're just running so low on shit to do that it's just very much a case of, meh, fuck it, I can just click on something randomly and get that done.
So, this means you're basically almost done with this run?
Well, I kind of want to get all 15 relics, because there is an achievement for doing that, but otherwise, yeah, I pretty much am.
Yeah, alright then.
I mean, this is very much builder mode. It's just relax, chill out, that sort of thing, and it's mostly just to, well, you know, as the joke goes, to chill out. I just wanted to play this game to have fun and show off what I find to be one of the most unique and extremely pretty city builders that a lot of people never really gave more than a single look at, because they thought city builder and they didn't think about why it was billed as a city builder survival game.
It's a bit uncanny watching that automaton crawl around.
Yeah, I mean, the automatons alone are just impressive. Oh, hello, what's this? Oh, an indignant woman.
What's up?
Okay, so the woman says that a woman attacked a patrol, cursing them and hitting them with her fists. And she says that they have been pestering her because it's an excuse for them to make sexual advances. So I could punish her. Hope will drop like a rock. I could reprimand the guards for being assholes and abusing their position. Or I can skip the district on patrol, and using patrol will have less effect. I will reprimand the guards because I have a brain.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not quite ACAB, but it's very much a case of we have to pull together because we have 720 people in this city. We're probably the only people left on the fucking planet. Don't try to kill each other. Now, the other option that I did not take, which would have been faith, can actually turn into a theological hellscape, if you want to put it politely. And after finding the ice needles, which is very much just jagged ice in every direction, we found an abandoned wreck and fissured rock to explore. So let's take a look. So the fissured rock is yet another waypoint to more shit, and the abandoned wreck, oh, looks like a cargo hauler. Let's go check it out. 12 hours. Down here's the lying rock. That's a waypoint. Ice Jaws, that's a waypoint, and the Mountain Glacier is a mini event. So we're getting close to cleaning out the Frostland already in this little storm sector. I am not going to complain one bit about that. Also, because of the fact that I am a achievement cheesy monkey, I am going to build the large gardens because of the fact that, well, I can, and there is an achievement.
Oh, fancy.
There is an achievement for having all 3 gardens. I have the small, I have the medium, and now I will have the large.
Nice.
And there we are. Walk on the grass. And it really is just... It's purely aesthetic in this game, sadly, but I figured that it's just something that you would want to have in a city, even in the middle of a frozen hellscape where everyone's working their ass off. Ah, found a cave at the foot of glacier, some signs of past human presence. Stored a modest amount of supplies in the cave. Bad ideas, it will collapse sooner rather than later. We decided to rescue the supplies. 57 coal, 72 wood. And a frozen river. We are exploring further than I normally do. This is impressive, to be honest. We have 10 days left, so we've only gone through 4 days of this little span before the next storm, too. I'm actually surprised at how little it's gone. Little has gone through. Oh, I forgot to specify some resource storage. Whoops.
Rest time. Work is done for the day.
I'm actually just going to double check and see what I have here. So, coal storage is 18,000. Wood storage is 3,900. Steel storage 3,900. Food processing 4,350 and 2,100. Okay, so I know what I can do. There we are. Now that we have more coal and more food storage, we should be happy for a good long while. And next on the research will be yeah, medical automaton integration. Medical facilities will be 20% more efficient with that. Spin the camera around so you can watch this automaton climb aboard the wall drill here, and, well, it actually looks kind of cool. I think it's fueling up first. Nope, there we are.
Nope, yep. This does remind me of those Dishonored walkers. A little bit.
It's very thematic in that regard, because Dishonored is also very heavy on the steampunk, after all. And in this case, well, Frostpunk is, well, very literally steampunk and coalpunk post-apocalypse, I guess. It's very rare you find games that are actually in the middle of the apocalypse, and Frostpunk is one of a small handful that does it really well. So, I mean, it's definitely one of those games that's not for everybody because, well, it's at its heart a relatively chill city builder and all that, because you can always just pause it whenever you need to. And balancing the resources isn't that hard, but it's just one of those games where it's just relaxing in a way, in its own disturbing, depressing way.
Now, you say this, but your first run did end.
Yes, I admitted I fucked up, and I knew it was gonna fuck up, so I said, yeah, I'm calling it because I didn't have the means to survive the first storm without massive casualties. It would not have destroyed my city, but it would definitely have hamstrung me.
Ah. Frostmourne.
Yeah, I know. I decided to be a dork. It's
Yeah, you did.
Well, what can I say? I used to play Warcraft 3 when I was younger, and Blizzard was actually good. Take that, Blizzard.
I'm sure their employees already did.
Ah. This is odd. I'm clicking on something and it's not seeming to work. Let me try something else. Ah, fiddly bullshit. Happens on occasion.
Yo, Grump.
Yep.
Have you ever heard of the life path system of character creation in tabletop RPGs?
I have, actually. I've used it before.
Oh, really?
Yes, it was in the Battletech MechWarrior role-playing systems, A Time of War.
Yep. Well,
So we found a wreck. Looks like there was an explosion, coal and steel. Yoink.
Oh, yep. I do believe that the A Time of War version, they call it something else, I think, life module system, because there's no element of chance. A lot of the classic are, I forget the name of the publisher that made. It's the Traveler and Cyberpunk 2020 people.
That would be R. Telsorian, I believe.
Thank you. Yes. They actually do have an element of chance in the life path generation, and actually, so did the older BattleTech RPG editions, as you may recall.
Yep, MechWarrior 2nd Edition was real heavy on the rolling.
Yep. Now, there's something I've noticed about these life path RPG systems.
Specifically?
They are reasonably realistic in that they don't really account for teenage anime protagonists.
That's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yes.
Okay, so as the storm is, well, the temperature shift is fading, I'm actually turning off some heaters just to conserve on fuels. And this is mostly because of the fact that I am a parsimonious bastard when it comes to coal. Another spot in the Frostland, use it as a waypoint. Oh, we found Barren Hollow and wrecked vehicle, and there's a new landmark. So let's see what we have. Barren Hollow, yet another. It's the only thing standing out in the endless desert. And wrecked vehicle, box-like shape sticking out of the snow. Might as well hit over there first, right?
Yep.
So as you can see, from the center of our city, we have explored a reasonable amount. That's odd. I think I saw... Oh, that's actually pretty cool. I saw the light reflecting off the frozen river over here from halfway across the map. See? Just look at that.
Wow.
That is attention to detail you do not see in a lot of games.
Yep, there's the glinting again.
Yeah, it was made even more visible when I started fiddling with the camera, just topping it back and forth to make it twitch a little. Anyway, at the moment, I'm just going to bump the game speed up to stupid fast, because I can. I love that faint hiss as it warms up and you can see condensation on the actual screen.
Unfortunately, I can't actually hear the hiss because I've muted the stream.
Well, you'll have to check it out sometime, or honestly just buy the game, because it's one of those games that I sincerely recommend for just about everyone.
Oh, I think I have a copy, actually.
Well, it came out the same day as BattleTech did, so it's pretty hard for me to compare and compete the two, because I love them both.
Yeah. Also, it's much harder than BattleTech.
That can be adjusted now. BattleTech's difficulty got some major patches to make it go from relatively easy to how much do you like your balls, pulverized or paste?
I should probably go back to it at some point. I'm just waiting for the timeline to progress a little. I'm not a huge fan of original flavor 3025, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, original flavor 3025 is all well and good, but there's just a whole lot of stuff you can do with additional shenanigans. I mean, even as early as 3039, you had stuff like the reintroduction of Gauss rifles and ERPPCs and all that.
Yep.
Because basically, if I recall correctly, 3025 was the lowest nadir of the Battletech universe, and then it slowly started getting better. Except for clan bullshit.
Yes. But of course.
Well, I mean, you've talked with PTN about just how much the clans are a completely broken society in every way, shape, and form. Honestly, I think everyone has, really. The man knows his shit.
Plus side of 3039, you get to see the Drax beat up the Feddies.
Well,
But really it's the Feddies.
Well, I mean, I look at it this way. The Federated Commonwealth in BT always has the mentality of, oh, our economy is in the toilet again. Well, let's start a war again.
Yes.
I mean, with that in mind, if you only knew that about the FedCom, you would be forgiven for saying, yes, they're Space America.
I guess we'll have to forgive some of the Battletech line authors, huh? What was it? Yeah. Oh, Blaine Pardo. That was his name?
Pardo is just obsessed with the fucking American Civil War.
Yes, he was.
Oh, look, this character is the next Stonewall Jackson. Who?
Perfectly nice enough guy. Just, I'm not really sure that the American Civil War is the appropriate cultural touchstone for what is essentially a dynastic squabble between, like, space Franco-German siblings.
You know what the worst part is? Catherine, after she gets turned over to Clan Wolf at the end of the Steiner-Davian Civil War, creates a, I guess you would say a clan warrior, using their Iron Womb system, using a genetic sample from her and from her brother.
Yes!
So it's very Habsburg.
Alaric, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he eventually killed his mom.
Yep.
But, I mean, just how broken in the head, even as a card-carrying villainous character, do you have to be, where you think that might be a good idea? I'm reminded of TDI's rant when he Let's Played Resident Evil 2. Ladies and gentlemen, when your bioengineered monster has as its first prerogative for breeding to be incest, go back to the drawing board.
Yep. Yeah. Ugh.
Yes. That was both entertaining and very at the same time.
Worst part is, that's not even the craziest clan bullshit to happen during the Dark Ages.
Well, it's clan bullshit. It always happens that way. Okay, so we have an automaton that got stuck.
What? Oh.
So we can either shut down the automaton for 12 hours, or shut down our advanced steelworks for 12 hours. Well, we have 2 advanced steelworks, so fuck it, I'll shut down the steelworks.
Oh, sure, alright.
And we just got St. Edward's crown.
Oh, is that the relic? The scouts came back.
I'm gonna take a look at that if I can. Okay, I'm actually having some minor issues with the game at the moment. I'm probably gonna have to save, quit, and restart the game entirely, because apparently I can't click on anything inside the city. So I'm just gonna grab these scouts, send them back to the Lonely Light, because it's only a day and 4 hours away, and then I can send them off to the Lying Rock, while these scouts are up there doing that shit and all that. So, I'm just gonna take about 30 seconds, and then I'll be right back, okay?
Alright.
Okay. Save game. yes, I remembered that save. Electrical fun. So it should be fixed just by quitting back to the main menu and going back in. So this is why I'm just double checking to make certain. And here we are, and everything is selectable again, so huzzah! The first glitch that I have ever had in this game was solved with about 3 seconds of effort. So St. Edward's Crown, the most important of the crown jewels. This 17th century crown was used in coronations of English and British monarchs, starting with Charles II. It was found in a steel safe with a note from presumably the last master of the jewel office.
Oh.
And that is an actual photo of the real crown, by the way.
Neat.
Almost every single piece of the Queen's most prized collections has been auctioned away to fund the expeditions. The Exchequer is starting to mention the unthinkable. The crown jewels must not be sold. If I have to steal them in order to save them, so be it. So think about how desperate the English would have to be for the Queen to sell basically all of her prized collections. Because that's stuff that's been in the Tudor royal family for centuries, you know? So I guess it kind of says it all about Frostpunk when everything is kind of fucked up to that regard.
Makes sense, yes.
Yeah, so as you can see here, I have work stopped due to an emergency at this old building here, and my automaton is sitting around with its thumb up its butt. It's actually refueling.
So, let's see, of the 4 relics you have, 3 are basically just sort of design materials you've picked up. And
Yeah,
one's an
it's-
actual proper...
Yeah, it's essential world building and one actual treasure.
yes. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so we have rejected automaton designs, basically a case of why does it need arms? It doesn't need arms. What are you gonna do? Give it a shovel so it can scoop itself out of the holes it's gonna make with those tiny spindly feet? Bunkhouses, of course, which are the second tier of housing. We have actual houses, which are warmer and safer and all that sort of stuff. The lamp, which we discussed when you wandered in, and St. Edward's Crown. So, all told, we're getting up there, because we're almost at 1/3 of all the relics collected.
Work day is up. Return your tools.
I admit, I do enjoy just looking at the generator as it works, because it's very deliberately designed to evoke a heart, you know?
You nerd.
Yes, I know, I am a nerd. Pot calling the kettle black, anyone?
I mean, who else is? That's what we're allowed to do.
So yeah, I'm actually going to research the infirmary, even though I'm not going to build any for a time being.
Alright. Just get it out of the way.
The advanced wall drill is also next on my to-do list, but I can't do shit with that without more cores and such.
Wait, that's a wall of ice?
Kind of. In this case, it's actually a mixture of stone and ice, but in the original game, well, in the original map and all that, it was very much just a slamming straight into a wall of ice.
Huh.
Oh, salvaged some parts from a wrecked vehicle, da-da-da-da, had in cache of supplies, coal and steel, yoink! Onwards to the Barren Hollow. And let's see, scouts number 6 are foodling around towards another wrecked vehicle. Scouts number 7 are foodling off to the Lonely Light and then the Lying Rock. And then I get to go explore out the Ice Jaws when that finally shows up, because hey, we still have 9 days of surviving before the next storm rolls. I also quietly appreciate the fact that I have a significant pile of loot to deal with. Still. You know, I kind of pity the Yellow Icelander as a name for this thing because, well, it just reminds you of yellow snow.
Yeah, it does. Oh, my stream's been hitching a bit. Shucks.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I boosted the bitrate up to about 3500 a little while ago, so it's a bit bandwidth hungry. And but at the same time, it's kind of needed simply for the fidelity of the screen and all, due to the visual effects, like all the frost in the corners expanding and shrinking as the temperature adjusts. So it's sort of a mixed bag, and it struggles at times, and I do apologize for that. So, at the moment, we're actually full up on wood, and I haven't built anything in a while, because, well, I haven't really needed to build anything. So, fuck it, I'm just gonna hit the very fast game speed button. And another wreck of some sort of vehicle, more coal and steel, yoink. And we have finally cleared an entire path. Yay! Huzzah!
Hooray!
1 day and 13 hours back to the city, or... one day and 5 hours to the supply depot. 8 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours, 20 hours, 1 day and 2 hours. Or I can go or I can jump straight to the Ice Jaws, which is 3 days and 13 hours, despite being barely opposite my city. So, naturally, the fastest route is to just run straight back to the city and then out again. Needless to say, a big thing about the expeditions is that when you when you have a known route to a location and you can travel fast, always take that option, because it's just so vastly important 99% of the time. I admit, one thing I've been thinking of doing for a while is just streaming that Don't Nod game, what's it called, Vampire. But the way I play the game would make it horrible to stream, because I tend to grind for all the experience I possibly can in an area, so...
Well, shucks.
I mean, one option, of course, is that I stream the plot parts, then just do off-screen grinding for who knows how long, but that can be all sorts of shenaniganery and fuckery and accidental plot happening at the worst moment. Okay, so, barren hollow found, uprooted tree found. Who wants to bet that the uprooted tree has a whole lot of not much in it? But, well, it's only 14 hours away, so we may as well take a look, right? And now it's just killing time once more.
Just waiting for a storm.
Well, 8 days and 23 hours, so... And ooh, all of a sudden it's warm. I can turn off heaters.
Order, people. Let's march to work.
I should probably upgrade my cookhouses with another layer of heat insulation, because they are showing signs of basically only being comfortable and livable instead of comfortable. So I should keep an eye on that in the near future when I can have the opportunity of fixing that sort of stuff. As for now, I'm just building another spate of 5 massive storage facilities. And checking my fuel consumption. So I am consuming 27.95 a day and producing 39.02 a day. Huh. Yeah, frozen ground is kind of a dick move if you're still relying on gathering posts, or even worse, coal thumpers, because that 90% efficiency malice is just absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
It's also why the game kind of says, yeah, even in builder mode, playing with random hazards on is kind of a bad idea. So, of course I did it because I'm an asshole. So I've built infirmaries, which are kind of useful for the obvious reason. And that unlocks a couple of options. Mechanization. Infirmaries employ less people. Checklists. 15% faster. This is kind of a big thing because, well, 15% efficiency never hurt anything. But, as I mentioned, cookhouse insulation, because I noticed my cookhouses are only livable instead of comfortable. And that is with a 2-star heater in there, so it's probably chilly if I didn't have the heater on. The one drawback of the infirmary is that it requires
checklists. Alright. Stop. Yep.
Okay, so a child shelter has a note of thanks. Yep, back in London it was only the wealthy that have to send their kids to work. In this new world you're creating, we can see things are different. Right thing to do, yada yada yada. Hope rises. Yay! I swear one of these days I'm probably going to scar some poor innocent bastard by pulling out the hell giggle that I can do. I'm just burning time at the moment, and there we are. Scouts are at a new spot.
Workday end. It's time for rest.
And I immediately send them off to the Lying Rock, which is 13 hours away for them. So, let's see. First off, we need more wood storage. Second off, we will need more steel storage. Third off, we will definitely need more coal storage. We will always need more coal storage because it's fucking obscene how fast you can burn right through it. We're actually fine on food storage, so more coal storage. And I think I will add the range extension to sawmills, which boosts the actual range by 50%. And then, as soon as this scout is 20 minutes away from his destination, so we can just fart around and look around for a few moments, I will then have to temporarily step away from the keyboard because of the fact that my eyeballs are turning yellow.
Ah.
Okay, big tree, must have been beautiful when it was green. Sad sight, now I can only chop the pieces and take the wood. Hey, look at that! 60 wood for one tree, not bad!
Yeah.
And hey, snow-covered supplies! Let's go. So, I'll be back in just a moment. The game will putter along without me, because I'll just jump right back into the city and let the timer run down.
And I will slowly watch the stream catch up.
And lo and behold, I am back, just no longer full of piss and vinegar, now just full of vinegar. Putting in more guard posts because, of course, the peons need to be seen. Protect the proletariat, you know? I was just thinking, out of curiosity, what was the weirdest role-playing game you have ever played?
Oh. Well, if I'll be perfectly honest, I haven't had the opportunity to play many role-playing games. Really, if I had to say, the closest thing to a strange one I've ever played was actually Exalted First Edition, and that's because its sensibilities were just so different from everything else that we'd had to work with at the time.
Yeah, that's fair. On the flip side, I know of a game that is currently being Let's Played that makes Exalted's weirdness look tame.
Go on.
Shadowheart's Covenant.
Oh. I think... Yeah, is that the second one in the series?
It is, yes.
Okay.
The Dark Kid is Let's Playing it currently. He's just getting to the end of Paris, which is essentially the second area, really, so it's pretty early on in. But I mean, it says a lot. It says a lot about a video game and a role-playing game where one of the primary mechanics in regards to upgrading a character's skill loadout is finding gay porn playing cards to give to a tailor.
Yep. Sounds about right. I've actually played Shadow Hearts, the third one.
The third one is not bad, but it feels like it lost the charm of the second one.
Yeah, I think that was the general feeling people had.
Well, to be fair, it was mostly the fact that the main character was kind of a useless nipple. Yeah, more than one person's gotten amused by me calling various characters and such nipples. Honestly, his main redeeming feature is the fact that Lenny is his bodyguard. And Lenny, as you know, is bloody awesome. Ah, so we found a large pit and a huge crate. So, it can be a landmark until it gets filled up with snow, and a big honkin' crate. Well, the pit's closer by 3 hours. And then it's back to abusing the timer until something happens. Temporary hazard is passed, negative effects no longer apply, back to normal. Yay! Finally, got rid of that mess. And snow cover supplies reached. Raw food. No telling who might have left them there. Take resources, and that is now a dead end. Because there's nothing left over here, as you can see. Looks like we've got a grand total of 3 dots left over here, so... 1 day and 13 hours to basically use motorized sleds to go from all the way over here, straight line to our city, by bouncing over 2 crevasses into cliff face. I know it's not literally that, but it's still kind of that's how it looks, so bit of entertainment, I suppose. Anyway, just abuse the timer some more. Watch things heat up or cool down as the case may be. Sawmill range extension increased, whoop-de-doo. There's actually an achievement for using only charcoal kilns as your coal source. So, turning wood into coal, not bad, but at the same time, it's definitely not exactly something you want to be doing on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
In this case, I think I'm going to take the time and finish off the exploration and industry tree and just get streamlined prostheses, optimized prostheses, and engineer automaton, so I can completely ignore that panel from further on out. So streamlined prostheses costs 5 steel less to make, which is always good, and optimized prosthetics take less time to make, which is even better in my opinion. And then it's just running down the timer again. So, Scout 6 return safely to the city, drop off a bunch of stuff, including some 5 steam cores, yay, and we can immediately kick them out to the ice jaws and see what pops out the other end.
A lot of timer running.
On the bright side, now that we have those steam cores, we can make advanced wall drills, going from 200 wood to standard workday to 240 per standard workday. And as you can see by the green outline, the advanced wall drill is a much beefier construct than the steam wall drill. Holy crap.
Oh, wow. Dang.
Also, if I recall correctly, if an automaton is assigned to a building that's been ordered to upgrade, the automaton will actually help build it.
Well, that's nice.
I don't remember if that's 100% accurate, because obviously this automaton is standing up here like a couple of spare pricks. But if I recall correctly, it's been a while, so sucks to be me.
Workday end. It's time for rest.
I have to admit, considering the state of this city and all the various construction going on in it, and all that sort of stuff, the worst possible disaster that could ever befall this city is quite simply a fire.
I could see that, yes.
Okay, several tents hidden from view in the pit. Who would have built a camp in a pit that's about to be filled with snow? Some sort of research outpost, completely abandoned. Take what we can, move on. Ah, more steel. Yoink. Huge crate, 10 hours away. Looks like I'm about done this neck, so I pretty much cleared 3/4 of the area, and I still have a week to go. Not bad. And because of the Steam Core collection still being Steam Cores, I have 3 in reserve, which I will be able to use later. I'll probably punch out 2 more automatons, actually. Yeah, let's do that. Let's just set that up. Okay, we have one person starving. What the hell? Going to eat, going to eat, going to eat, going to eat. Jesus Christ. Fucking idiots.
Oh, I forgot to mention this, but a little while ago, Duelist suggested, how about you talk about the influences upon the game?
Well, honestly, a large
And I forgot to mention this because it never came to mind. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I have to admit, a large part of the influences I don't entirely know. I never actually did any extensive research into the game. I mostly just bought it because of the fact that I sincerely appreciated what 11-bit studios did with their previous game, This War of Mine, which I could not play because it was just too mentally exhausting.
Yeah, actually, it kind of is.
I mean, the best way to describe This War of Mine is all the civilians in Sarajevo. And it's... yeah.
Yep.
So it's extremely emotionally exhausting to put yourself through on a good day. On a bad day or worse, it's... yeah. It's the type of game where you don't buy it for a sense of personal satisfaction. You buy it out of appreciation for the people who actually lived that sort of shit and came out of it with their souls intact, really. So I have all of these people going to eat, and every last one of them says they're hungry as hell. You know what this means, right?
Well,
It means I have to build a
actually.
cookhouse.
Okay, cool. Well, you do only have 2.
Yeah, so in this case, because those two are damn near side by side over on this side of the city, every 720 people inside the city have to walk over here to get food, even if they're all the way over here working on the wall drill, or in the lumber mills. And that is why I'm dunking one right here next to the gardens and the public spaces, so people can actually get their shit and eat without having to go all the way across the entire fucking city.
How thoughtful.
Yeah, scouts have reached a new area. More ice jaws. Yeah, that looks like ice jaws, alright. Looks very mouthy. Only a drafty shelter. No signs of life, which is kind of expected because we are actually over the population cap, of course. But, well, we'll see what happens. 38 minutes to our next scouts finishing off. And boop. Creative, the kind used to transport heavy cargo. Oh, look, steam cores. Steam cores are good. 5 more steam cores. Yoink! I am taking that shit like you would not believe. So yeah, with 2 of our scouts heading back to camp and 1 of our scouts heading out, I am tempted to grab, well, after they are done returning their loot and all that, I am tempted to grab one and just send them in the footsteps of the ones who just left the ice jaws, simply because, well, you never know. So our gardens are currently too cold to operate properly because, well, the universe hates me. And there. Got 3 cookhouses working away. Got 1,600 raw food in reserve, 2,500 food rations, and some bodies in storage. Once again, with no upcoming calamities or concerns, I can just keep on plugging along. Okay, and that was the next bit of research done, and now we can just pop out the engineer automatons and complete that entire panel once and for all. This person is hungry and going to work instead of going to eat. Well, some people are stubborn, I suppose. It's hard to see with the factory there, but with the new automaton built, we are suddenly much more happy, I guess you would say. Because now, I can jump over to this advanced coal mine with its efficiency of 144, drop an automaton in there, and only lose 30 efficiency. So we are still going hot at 95 plus 19 for efficiency. 102.6 coal per hour, 24 hours a day. All of a sudden, my production went from 4,500 to 5,190. This is not a bad thing, obviously. And that is probably the best and most frustrating thing about the automatons, is quite simply the fact that they are so incredibly useful that you almost feel hamstrung without them in the game. And with one more automaton built, well, let's have some 10 engineers go back home and relax. So now we have only one coal mine that needs people actually not working in it anymore. And then we can start seeing about upgrading various other buildings to have automatons on them as I get more steam cores. I mean, feasibly, I can even use them on cookhouses, first aid stations, pretty much everything except for hunter stations, really. Next on the to-do list, I've noticed my one gathering post is having installation issues. I mean, this is entirely optional because of the fact that I'm never going to use it more than this last little bit. But what the hell, it's worth a good hearty chuckle anyway. In fact, at this rate, I might actually have to make a charcoal kiln. Because I am just constantly full of wood.
Well.
Phrasing, I know.
Yep.
I did walk into that one with both eyes open, so that's why I just kind of shrugged and rolled with it.
It's time for rest.
And as you can see, the expanded radius for the sawmills is pretty stonking huge. Damn. Look at that.
Yeah.
Talk about deforestation in process. Okay, drafty shelter, small shack, poorly put together from busted crates, yada yada yada. Nobody here, find some supplies, yada 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 yada. Decent resources into row graves. Onwards to the stone arch. And just to play along with the time being spent. Scouts have returned. Grab those scouts. So, I could kick them straight to the stone arch, 1 day and 20 hours. Or drafty shelter, 13 hours. That's the difference between uncharted and charted paths. While I'm at it, I'm going to use my currently last steam core to build an infirmary. This is not normally something I would do at the moment because I have a significant bunch of healthcare buildings. But it's just very much a matter of me being a completionist git and generally wanting to make certain that my city is happy and healthy and all that sort of blah. Of course, the hard part is finding a spot to fucking well put it. So yeah, there's less than a week before the next storm, and we are sitting pretty, to be honest. There's just no real reason to worry or complain. Hit that accelerate button, see about getting things done post-haste.
Oh, leisurely.
Well, to be fair, it's a nice little feature to have, and it looks cool watching the ants run around in the dark.
Brace yourselves. Cold is coming.
And oh no, it's cold again. I'm so concerned. Whatever shall I do?
Order, people. Let's march to work.
Oh. My stream is watching the, catching up with the melting.
It's kind of nice, isn't it? Just having all that snow melt away as the steam hub is placed. If you look down here at the bottom corner of the infirmary, you can actually see its steam core pulsating and just keeping the place warm and toasty.
Actually, what is a steam core anyway?
A steam core, for lack of a better term, is essentially a steam-powered reactor. It's extremely advanced technology to the point where you cannot build them within the city because you just don't have the means to, because it requires precision tooling and, well, most of the precision tooling was destroyed in the Dreadnoughts when the Dreadnoughts broke down, so sucks to be us.
I see.
And basically it's very much a matter of you need them for advanced materials, like, for example, the automaton that I have sitting on top of this coal mine over here, that big circular unit right in the center of it is its steam core, and it operates all of its artificial intelligence or whatnot, you know?
Ah.
So basically it's essentially a, well, for lack of a better term, it's the steampunk equivalent of a man-portable nuclear reactor.
Yeah, no, magic, I get it.
Well, a little bit less magic, a little bit more bullshit. Someone became ill. Yep, one of our people became ill because of frostbite. And that's why, because the guard station's actually bloody cold, so let's turn on the heater in there. Only fucking building in the entire city without a steam core nearby keeping it hot. Ah well, that's what I get for not double checking, right? At some point or another, I'm probably going to joke about overlapping inefficiencies, and that cool guy's going to try and kill me when he sees this. Because really, this is just so much heat-related bullshit, and I am having fun mucking around. I don't even need to warm up the storage facilities, I just like doing it to have the whole, quote, Pretty Borders faction quiet. So, infirmary mechanization is one of those things that doesn't seem like a priority because it employs fewer people, -5 engineers. But at the same time, when you think about it, instead of having 1-to-1 care, all of a sudden you're having 1-to-2 care, where you have one engineer successfully treating 2 people at a time. That is a massive savings on workforce and such, and in this game, workforce is that one resource you just cannot do without, you know?
Yes.
But I'm grabbing infirmary checklists first.
Checklists.
Plus 15% efficiency, I'm not going to complain about that.
Yeah, alright.
So the stone arch has been reached, and site's discovered a lone automaton. Standing still amidst the whiteness, 13 hours away. So hey, I might get a freebie. This is completely RNG, mind, so if it does happen, I will be pleasantly surprised, because we have basically cleared out the entire Frostland from what I can tell. As for now, back to killing more time. Scouts are returned with 5 more steam cores. And I think that now is a good time to plant an industrial hothouse. And yeah, industrial hothouses are big buildings. Look at the size of that thing, you know? It is basically half again the size of a hunter's lodge. And we can use corpses to add fertilizer.
Yep. Yes, you can.
So, would you like to see what happens when you cross the line and go full evil and authoritarian in this game?
Not particularly.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the fact that it's an option kinda says it all. Because
Yes.
11-bit Studios really did not shy away from making people think dark things when need be. The design of the hothouse is something I appreciate because it's basically your typical greenhouse, only it's steam powered, so it's even hotter. And lo, look at my troop of schmucks onwards to start hunting. That is a whole lot of schmucks, isn't it?
I actually can't see them. The stream is currently locked in limbo from my end.
Oh, god damn it, universe.
Right?
It's probably YouTube being YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, worst case scenario, just tap F5 and see if that fixes it.
Good idea.
And now it's just killing time until the scouts get their thumbs out of their butts and finish scouting. On the bright side, for once I actually have an abundance of food rations. That's not something I'm going to complain about. Yeah, so here's the difference for extraction efficiency between the automatons at the advanced coal mines and the advanced coal mine with actual human employees. At the human employee one, I have plus 1296 a day, which is pretty damn good, seeing as how the actual mine has 144% efficiency, which is pretty damn high. And when it comes down to it, it still only works for 10 hours a day. The advanced coal mines, at 95% efficiency plus the 2 coal mining optimizations for a total of 114% efficiency, because they work 24/7, pump out 2462 coal a day.
Wow, yeah.
And with coal consumption being a total of 3735 a day, most of that being from the 22 steam hubs that are plugging along, I'm producing 6300 and only guzzling 3700, so I am sitting pretty on coal for the time being. For my wood gain, I am literally gaining 1094 wood a day, and, well, 5700 storage. It is packed to the gills. My advanced steel works are only 592 a day. Steel is always a slow gain, but at the same time, it's not exactly going shortage either. It used to be, but then I got automatons on advanced steelworks, and all my problems disappeared one and got a metal at a time. Food processing, another fun little thing here is, well, I now gain 1350 rations a day, and I consume 702 a day. So, doing alright there, to the point where I actually have nearly the storage cap of standard meals. 4350 is my maximum, and I'm at 4143. Needless to say, I think my cooks are very happy with me. For health stations, my medical posts are at 154 efficiency. One employee gives the base of 50% bonus, because it's 2 workers on the night shift, plus 10% for working on the agitator, plus 20% for the transplants, plus another 14% for the medical post upgrade, because it's an additive 10% on top of the base. So with that 140, it adds to up to a total of plus 14%. So that's pretty cool. Meanwhile, at my infirmary, all I have is the transplants at the moment, so it's only 100 plus 20, so I should probably drop an agitator right next to it. I have one person living in a house that is not fucking toasty. One fucking person. God damn it. Oh, they're in the care house. Sucks to be them. Anyway, because I like being loud and aggravating, I'm going to plant an agitator right there, just to really annoy them. The agitator, as you probably guessed, lives up to its name because of the fact that it makes people work harder because it's just so loud and bleating.
There has to be diminishing returns on shouting at people.
Well, it's basically
megaphones.
a PA system with pre-recorded messages saying, "Work harder or you freeze to death."
Oh, buddy.
And seeing as how the ambient temperature is minus 60 right now, that's a pretty good threat, to be honest. So, the industrial hothouse just got finished, and good lord, does it look pretty. It is a heavy-duty glass and steel construct, and I really like how it looks.
Duelist crisis posts. Basically, the captain is Cave Johnson.
Well, not quite. Cave Johnson did go legitimately insane.
Ah.
So, the hothouse starts with a basic efficiency breakdown of about 100%, plus 14, 15-ish for the hothouse selection modifier. So not too shabby all told. Then there's Utilize the Dead and Foreman, which bumps the efficiency by 40 and bodies in the soil to make plants grow faster. And our scouts have just reached the lone automaton. Seems to have suffered serious malfunction. Salvaged something from it at least. Well, that's not too bad. And we found a frozen lake. That's kinda sad, because I really was hoping to get a free automaton. Plus, I mean, you kinda got a feel for the big mechanical derpy four-legged spiders.
Shucks.
Well, at the same time, 5 more steam cores, I am not going to complain one bit about that. And way over here is a frozen lake, so I may as well send my boys off to go and check that out. These guys who are waiting around with their thumbs up their butts, well, I can honestly probably retire them, to be honest, so I may as well. So, I have placed an agitator near 3 workplaces. Let's see what the efficiency looks like. At the infirmary, the efficiency went from 120, just from transplants, to 140. That is not a bad thing. Meanwhile, the hothouse went from 120 to 137. So, well, actually from 100 to 137. So not bad either. When it comes down to it, the agitator is arguably one of the better constructions you can have. And the faith tree in the Book of Laws, if you choose to go faith instead of order, has a similar object, a religious shrine that allows the people who walk through it to feel inspired and generally work harder. So I just finished clearing the infirmary checklists, which is always nice, and in this case I think I will grab hothouse insulation 1 and 2. And right now, with a total of only 3 people working at my infirmary, I have an efficiency of 106% right now. Not too bad.
No time to waste. We've got work to do.
And good riddance to that coal pile. I just have to figure out a way to get rid of that those wooden crates next to the gathering post, and I can toss the entire building into the trash bin where it belongs. Well, might as well. I'm fairly certain that at this point a significant fraction of this area will be taken over by resource depots. I think I will do research for the charcoal kilns, even if I'm not intending to actually build them, simply because of the fact that, well, completionism is not much of a bad thing. At the very least, it keeps you distracted and shiny. So we actually have 2 people in the infirmary, and in this case, if they were in a medical post, this would be about 20 hours for this fellow, Harry Norris, and he's only taking 5 hours to get healed. So I am going to say I really like the infirmary. And the gathering post is now completely out of resources, so let's just toss that into the trash bin of history. And see what's next. Also, I just turned off one of the 2 steam sawmills simply because. Another small detail that I never really noticed until I zoomed in like this is the fact that you can see the old tree trunks from the frozen trees that have been chopped down and processed, which is kind of cool.
Oh, hey.
It's one of those things that, again, the developers did not need to implement at all, but I'm glad that they implemented it anyway, simply because of the fact that it's attention to detail, you know?
Yeah.
So just for gits and shiggles, and because I have never actually built one of these before in all of my time playing this game, I'm going to build a charcoal kiln. Okay, so it's about the same size as a sawmill.
Rest time. Work is done for the day.
Obviously, this is the sort of thing you normally only use if you're challenging yourself to an achievement or something, because otherwise it's just too hilariously inefficient. It burns something in the ballpark of 70 wood to make, yeah, so it makes 21 coal from 7 wood over the course of 10 hours, so 70 wood for 210 coal. That is not a good ratio. So we have found the frozen lake, let's use it as a waypoint, and we found an abandoned sawmill. Yay. We're just getting singletons now at the time being, so I'm going to send my other scouts back to the city. So, 4 days and 10 hours left before the storm arrives, and yeah, it's probably going to cut it close. Think I can make it?
Maybe? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe it's pretty accurate. A lot of people are saying, let's make our city better, so on and so forth. There's not much I can do to make it better. I'm actually going to drop the generator heat production down 1 level, because of the fact that it's actually going to warm up for a day. Generator heat production dropping like that, well...
Come on, lads. We must work harder.
all of a sudden my consumption goes from 3,500 to 2,045. As you can see, I am keeping my steam hubs on and toasty warm, but I'm turning off pretty much every heater I can find, simply because of the fact that they're not really necessary at the moment. So, shenanigans, right? And again, with the economy, well, I am just consuming 1,800 and making 6,500, so it's pretty rude right now. I mean, even my charcoal kiln at 120% inefficiency because of working in the agitator is pumping out 335 coal a day, which isn't too shabby. They finally reached the abandoned sawmill. Has been used in a very long time. Everything's covered in ice. Frozen cave and a lone nun attack. This is new. An island of dark rock stands alone amidst a river of cracked ice and the frozen cave. So, in this case, I'm gonna grab them, and I'm gonna grab my other scouts and send them straight to the frozen lake because that's the fastest route. Actually, I'm gonna send them straight to the abandoned sawmill because I can 1 day in 10 hours, and then bump them as fast as I can over to the frozen cave, because I think the noon attack is just a landmark. And if I'm wrong, well, then it's a race to see who can get back to the city before everything freezes to shit, because we're on day 42 and the storm arrives on day 45. Now, another construction that I have not actually implemented in my city here is the coal thumper. The coal thumper, as you can probably guess, is essentially a fracking tool. It pumps coal directly in, and, well, it pumps water directly underground and forces coal up into the surface.
Ah. A thumper.
Needless to say, if someone starts shouting
Right next to daycare.
And in general, the upgraded version, which is comparatively easy to get, is about efficient enough to wrangle 4 gathering posts. So I'm going to plant 4 pretty much right on top of it. At least if the game will allow me to plant 4 right on top of it, because the game is being stubborn and fiddly and all that sort of shit. Ah, close enough. So there is an upgrade to the coal thumper that turns it into the steam coal thumper, which basically allows it to use super pressurized steam instead of just water to thump coal out of the ground. So yeah, it's, well, it's kind of what it says it is. see if the agitators can agitate anything further. Looks like no. I mean, they could theoretically try to agitate steam hubs, but there's nothing to agitate, you know. Alright, there is that one to sawmill, but fuck it. It doesn't need to be agitated. So at the moment, this steam sawmill is basically collecting wood and feeding it directly into the charcoal kiln. So with the charcoal kiln having an efficiency boost and now producing more coal, it's doing not too shabby. It's still crap, but it's doing not too shabby. So, Coal Thumper, pressurized water into underground deposits. Not too bad. Steam version, high pressure steam into coal deposits. The steam Coal Thumper forces the resources at the surface, forming a pile of 1,120 coal per standard workday, enough for 4 gathering posts. This is not a bad thing, and Coal Thumper injectors make it even better. Needless to say, I'm just doing this to kill time, really. It's just a matter of, well, finding enough time to kill.
Yep.
My coal consumption on my generator is 153 coal per hour because of the fact that it's turning the steam level up at the moment. Needless to say, when the generator actually is at maximum steam, it can just guzzle coal like you'd not believe.
Oh, I can believe it.
Just for shits and giggles, I'm checking on my industrial hothouse over here just to see what's up. It's at 138% efficiency. So I wonder what happens if I utilize the dead here. Oh look, it increases the raw food by 1, so 9.8 to food per hour. And with the foreman, oh look, hyper efficient. The efficiency is pretty damn good. So it went from 100 it's at 105 with 5 people absent. So 110, well 210 with maximum efficient with everything going at the same time. So the hothouse selection, the fertilizer, and the foreman was raising efficiency, all that sort of stuff. When it comes down to it, yeah, 210%, got an achievement for that.
Well, alright then.
There's also 2 separate achievements for, quote, if you have the choice, you can either go full hothouse or full hunter's huts, to basically go, I'm going to be a meatitarian or I'm going to be a vegetarian. To be fair, the term meatitarian has never failed to make me chuckle. So we are squeezing close to the cutoff line here for this episode because I almost always finish right after the end of the storm. Storm shows up in 3 days and 8 hours, and it will last from day 45 to about 8 AM on day 46. Temperature is going down 5 levels to minus 90, and then it will jump right back up by 5 levels to minus 40 once more. So we are going to have a bit of a chilly night. Thankfully, we have brave idiots doing brave idiot things outside. 1 hour and 10 minutes left on our brave scouts, running away to try and discover if we've discovered everything. Okay, notice a pair of crosskies giant at the top of a small pile of stones. Someone died there. Yada yada yada, a small cache of supplies, highly improbable the owner will be back, so let's take it with us. 57 coal, 72 wood. Not too shabby at all. Jump straight to the frozen cave, because it's only 9 hours away. Grab our other scouts, and fob them straight over to our city, because they can just fuck clean off. With less than 8 hours to go, they are going to finish off this one last destination, I hope. And come on, game. I love that you announce it by slowing down at the start of a new day, but it can be frustrating at times.
Brace yourselves. Cold is coming.
Storm on the horizon. So yeah, this guy is right on the edge of the storm. We are gonna have to pucker up and hold on tight.
Gosh.
It is going to be a mad race to get him back to the city, because I don't want to lose all of the stuff he's collected, especially those 5 steam cores. And in the frozen cave, busting through the ice, we discover a tunnel leading down. We used it a long time. Let's see, sheltered by a group of people, bodies now buried below layers of ice. Sucks to be them, take their resources, and run. So it'll take 1 day and 9 hours for my scouts to get back to the city from the frozen cave, but we have literally cleared out every possible destination in the Frostlands this session.
Oh,
So
that is that the
will
storm.
arrive in 2 days and 20 hours. Our scouts will arrive home in 1 day and 8 hours. And yeah, you can see the storm on the fringes here. All of this is this massive cyclonic storm system that is slowly going to creep in towards our city until it arrives and basically resets everything we have done out here. I mean, honestly, it's a great reset tool, but goddamn, it can be a pain in the dick. So at the moment, we are currently full up on lumber, which I'm not going to complain about. And I'm just going to upgrade my thumper here because of the fact that I can. And yes, the game is nice enough to give us a tutorial about pretty much everything, right on through to coal thumpers and how they work, so not too shabby. I do appreciate that the game is legitimately nice enough to explain things to people and just keep it as a small summary as a button in the corner, because it's just one of those things where every once in a while you might need a reminder of how something might work or whatnot, and that's never a bad thing, really. Anyway, while we're at it, I'm going to build one more automaton to work on my next coal mine over here. And with one last bit of research here, the Gathering Post Installation 2, I will have completed the resourcing research tree. I am not in a bad day. So 210% efficiency at the hothouse, definitely not a bad thing. So base efficiency of 120% and then plus 90% for all the bonuses. Mostly because of the fact that, well, we used a person as fertilizer.
That we did.
Okay, actually 3 people. But they had it coming. You can see at the coal thumper there's actually traces of coal in the piles to be there. And the agitator is, well, agitating vigorously. And the daily pilgrimage north for all these children. Just look at all these children heading off to their children's creche.
Yep.
Every last one is highlighted. Going to a child shelter. And with 7 automatons built, I have now put automatons on all 3 coal mines, both steelworks, and both wall drills.
Rest time. Work is done for the day.
And there should be an upgrading process for this coal thumper over here shortly. As you can see, the storm's already rolling in. You have areas that are already completely inaccessible because they're completely frozen over. And, as you can see, the clouds themselves have already crawled vastly closer. So, you can see why storms are so dangerous to anything out in the Frostland. This poor guy is still 1 day away. This poor guy is 7 hours away, and you can probably hear his asshole freeze shut as he races for the safety of the city.
Yep. Oof. That is pretty ominous.
That's what I love about the storms. It is just such an ominous threat, and it's not even a case of a threat made by something man or whatever. It's just, it's the world itself being inimical and hostile, and there's so very few games that just use nasty weather as a legitimate threat and make it plausible, you know? So I have 3 pieces of research left in the Food, Health, and Shelter tab, namely hothouse insulation, healthcare insulation, and infirmary mechanization. While in heating, I have the 3 generator range upgrades and advanced heaters, so let's do advanced heaters first. Because by the very design of this place, being in 3 connected, I guess you would say canyon nodes more than anything, it's virtually impossible for the generator to actually properly heat everything. You know, I cannot believe that I've had this propaganda center for who knows how long, sitting at 9 out of 10. So I'm just going to bump up hope a little bit, because hope is always a good thing. Set the gathering posts up so they have crews and then be turned off. so here is the Steam Coal Thumper. It is very steamy, it is very coaly, it is very thumpy, and it's basically a massive 3-phase pile driver, which is pretty impressive when you see it in action, which you'll probably see in about 8 hours in game. And to be fair, 137% efficiency is not a bad thing. So let's just hit the very fast button again, get that game speed going, and oh look, one of our scouts arrived home. And disband. So at the moment, I am actually thinking on building a stockpile of prostheses because of the fact that it just makes sense to have some. So I'm just going to hit the infinite button and see how many we can fill. I mean, it's not like I'm running short on steel. I have 5,000 in reserve. And at 5 steel per prosthetic, it's not going to be too bad. Storm's getting closer, as you can see. Looks like our scouts are still outracing the storm front by a pretty good margin, thankfully. They're actually pulling away from the storm front. But oofa, it's still nerve-wracking just watching that storm roll in. To do, they say, so on and so forth, bladdy bladdy blah. No, there's not. Okay, and so here we are. This is how the Coal Thumper works, more than anything. It's sort of a coal dredge with this massive piston here. And so with that piston just forcing superheated steam and water into the ground, it will be able to just rip coal straight up out of the ground and create piles like this all day, every day. And if you're truly desperate, you can actually order your peons, peasantry, whatever, to just sit on those piles and directly extract coal from it. But that's just cold as fuck. It is not a good option. It's actually kind of interesting looking at the design of the upper works of the Coal Thumper, because as you can see, it uses a big fucking spring to just launch that piston straight down. Again, this is one of those things where just the world design is such that I can appreciate it. Our scouts are 5 hours away, and that storm has basically consumed everything except the very closest bits and bobs around our city. So I'll just accelerate a little bit more and let the last few dredges of the day path through. And so our scouts come back with 242 coal, 5 cores, some 80 raw food, some 80 steel, and 237 stacks of wood. And they are now temporarily disbanded, and hothouse installation completed, so we have only healthcare installation and infirmary mechanization to complete in food, health, and shelter trees. So we are doing pretty good in that regard. In fact, we are doing so good, I will turn the workshops back to original working hours. Pile here. Yeah, about 1,100 coal is definitely not an understatement. Oof, that is a pretty sizable amount. As the game mentioned, gathering posts is about what you need to maintain that at, quote, 0, so to speak, but we're going to just absolutely scarf down as much coal as we possibly can, because of the fact that we only have about 9 days worth, because our generator is a thirsty beast. I'm sorely tempted to build an actual corpse pit way out in the corner back here, to be honest. Simply because of the fact that it's the only place that I'm absolutely 100% certain will never have a heater anywhere near it. But that can wait. Is the storm coming in to freeze us all. That is a nerve-wracking cyclone, to be honest. It always looks evil, like the eye of some horrible beast that is about to blink. So I'm actually going to build 6 charcoal kilns here, not because I need to, but simply because of the fact that I'm a cheeky bastard. And, well, at that point, let's see, quick mental math. 6 times 7, so 490 wood a day. I'm easily making a lot more than that. This is nothing except time wasting. So, with all that sorted out, now we just wait for the storm to start.
Well, alright then. Alright everybody, bundle up. Pack it in.
In this case, that means steam level 4. 239 coal consumption per hour. And now 7,950 5 coal consumption per hour. Well, per day. So at this temperature, everything is toasty. I'm turning on heaters because I always get the feeling that I'm going to need to, especially in a storm. And honestly, because we have such a massive heating system here, we should be okay, but it never hurts to have a little bit of extra security, especially with the extra heat especially because of the fact that, well, sorry, I'm stumbling over my own words right now, but anyway, with the storm rolling in, yep, this is about what I expected. Look at that cold go.
Oof. Pretty dramatic.
Order, people. Let's march to work.
And it's minus 90 degrees. So, for obvious reason, the Hunter's Hangars cannot work while the storm is going, because, well, yeah. It's essentially the equivalent of sticking a hot air balloon into a hurricane.
Yep.
And the Industrial Hothouse is inoperative for the same reason, because the storm is just so brutal that it's impossible to maintain the temperatures properly inside here. So the plants are not exactly taking it well, for lack of a better term. Now, with all of these heaters on, everything is toasty warm. Except for this one Hunter's Hangar. So I'm just going to turn this hangar off entirely.
Yes.
Meanwhile, out here, the Hunter Hangars are chilly. Public house is actually cold, but sucks to be the public house because nobody goes to the pub in the middle of the day anyway. And actually, that's why it is cold. Because even with the heater designated as on, it only raises the workplace temperature while people are inside. Nobody's inside, they're all resting at home. So as a result of that, while it's cold right now, you see how the heater icon there is grayed out? So with the -7 from weather, the +4 from the heat, +2 from the 6, so it's only -1. With the heater, it goes from cold right on back up to comfortable via the temperature gauge here. And all healthcare is now warmer because I'm a good captain. Now, at the moment, I am just doing everything I need to with Steam level 4, which is the most powerful Steam level you can possibly get in the game and all that sort of stuff. And I'm legitimately surprised that my consumption is still being outstripped by my production at 11,000 a day. Holy crap. Yeah, so my Steam hubs are actually using an upkeep of 16 coal per hour because of Steam level 4. Because they use 2 coal at Steam level 1 at the moment, and they have a range setting of 2. So they double that to 4 at Steam level 1, so 4, 8, 12, 16. Or if you only use 1 range setting, it's halved, of course. So when it comes down to it, the major consumption really is the fact that I have somewhere in the ballpark of 30 plus steam hubs and a whole bunch of heaters all going at once, and everything is fucking toasty in here. If I wanted to save some fuel, which I don't need to, I could turn the generator down to heat level 2 and turn on the overdrive, effectively giving it a heat level of 4, but also overstressing the generator and possibly causing it to basically overstrain itself and explode. This is why I always want a stockpile of steam cores, because a steam core fixes that immediately without anyone dying. Or I can set a child up into the pipes to fix it. Now, here's the fun thing. With overdrive, the generator visibly starts to overstress, pulsing and throbbing and spitting sparks. There's a reason why when Cool Guy was in this stream last time I streamed it actually, a couple of weeks ago, he said that the generator is just as much a character of the story of Frostpunk as the storms are. And you can see why, because it takes a lot of work to make something as inanimate as this, given so much personality just by being visibly overstressed and working harder than it should. Plus, I mean, it's kind of impressive seeing just how much of its radiator veins are glowing dull red from all of the heat from the coal that it's pumping through. So I'm going to be nice and turn off the overdrive and turn the steam level back up so it's not going to get too overstressed. But if my theory about this endless mode is correct, I fully expect later storms to simply get worse and worse and worse, while the local ambient temperature every 3 or 4 storms drops about 10 degrees at a time. So sooner or later, at some point or another essentially, there will just be a moment where I will have to keep the generator at maximum steam level all the time just to keep things livable.
That doesn't sound pleasant.
Well, it kind of makes sense, because it's endless mode, but the challenge is to survive the end, so to speak. It's not a hard challenge, but it's a challenge nonetheless, simply because of the fact that the game was never designed for an endless mode in the first place. I mean, the official campaign is only 45 days long. And the last 7 days, from day 38 to day 45, is the storm, where everything goes to hell, and it's amazing. So anyway, this storm is a grand total of diddly squat, and we have someone being sick because he works at a hunter's hangar. Well, sucks to be him. And we have someone who is, well, going to care because she got sick without a job. Also, note how, even with 38,000 coal, I only have about 4 days worth at current heat production. So, yeah, it's kind of one of those things where you just go, God damn, son. By the way, it turns out that while I wasn't looking, we had built 46 prosthetics.
Oh.
And the temperature will soar by 5 levels, going from minus 90 to minus 40 in a matter of about 3 minutes. As you can see, we actually have a small public gathering here where everyone's invited. All 725 of them. And then before everyone even arrives, they disperse. And the next storm arrives in 14 days, so we survived once more. A good a time as any to call it for tonight. I'm just going to turn off all of the heaters because they are not needed at the time being.
We've got work to do.
And I am just going to have to say goodnight. Take care of yourself. Thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. And while again, I do apologize to the people that I could not directly talk to because of the fact that I play full screen and therefore my computer cannot really tell me if anyone's chatting at me. I'm just glad you all came and showed up anyway. I hope you all have a good evening, and I hope to see you again in the near future, or just invite me to one of your own streams for good fun. Have a good night.